Hello, everybody. My name is Reinaldo Rodríguez. I am a candidate master from Venezuela. Today, we are going to comment a video about how to play like Anatoly Karpov. For that, we are going to cover a very important game played in the European Team Championship in 1977. In this game, Anatoly Karpov was playing with black pieces, and his opponent was the Hungarian grandmaster Laszlo Portisch. In this game, Laszlo Portisch opened the game with knight f3. This opening is known as the Reti opening or Zuckertor opening. Recently, this way to start the game is becoming quite popular because it's very flexible. White can play e4, d4, c4, English opening, queen pound opening, kings in the attack formation. So really it's quite annoying, and many players as black struggle against this schematic way to play. So in this game, Karpov used one of his favorite setups, the Queen's Indian defense. Knight f6, g3, and now b6. Normally, the player that start the game with knight f3 typically would like to create a kind of Catalan setup with the bishop on g2. So with the Queen's Indian defense formation, black basically is planning to have the bishop on b7, preparing the tray of bishops in the big diagonal, and forget about the long-term complications of in relation with the bishop on g2. So, well, white continue bishop g2, bishop b7, opposition in the diagonal, castle e6, and now here Portisch did the move d3. With this move, white demonstrates his intentions. Basically, he's using a Indian setup. This is known as the King's Indian attack, and black will have a kind of inverted chord system, where when the bishop is inside the pawn chain and goes to b7. So after d3, white prepare e4. Also important to mention that probably one of the main ways to continue here for white is with d4 or c4. Let me show you this alternative. After c4, c5, both players control the center. And after d4, pawn takes, white recapture with the queen. Not a common way to, this didn't happen in the game, but just to show you another alternative, the idea of recapture with the queen is avoid the trade of the bishop. And after d6, we can see, for example, d6, knight c3, and a6. Here, black have all those pawns on the 6th rank, and really this configuration of pawns is known as the hedgehog formation. Okay, black is just waiting with all the pawns there, hoping to react in the correct moment. But in the game, okay, Portisch didn't play with c4 or d4. He did just decide to play d3, looking for the classical King's Indian attack formation. So now we have d5, stopping e4. So here, okay, looks like black blocks the bishop, and now there is no way to do the trade. But on the other hand, also black shook down the possibility for white to push the pawn to e4, at least in a temporal way. So knight bd2, knight bd7, rook e1, and now after rook e1, the main point in the position without protection is f2. So the next move is the thought engine move, and it's quite logical, played by Karpov, bishop c5, which attack the vulnerable point after the last move played by white. So, for example, here, I'm going to play just a random move to show you the power of this idea. Imagine that in this position, white plays something like, just to lose a tempo, like a3, hoping to expand the queen side. After bishop takes on f2, takes knight g4 check, we are going to have a fork, or also a kind of a smoothed mate to the queen, okay, because the queen will be trapped on d1. So the bishop on c5 is aiming to f2. White have to be very careful with that. So here, in this position, white did c4. Now the sacrifice is not available because with c4, white is enabling some space for the queen. Okay, short castle, pawn takes, pawn takes. Notice how this pawn is controlling the knight on d2. Knight b3, chasing the bishop, typical middle game plan. Bishop b4, attacking the rook. Bishop b2, white complete development. And now a5, about this move. This is a typical positional pattern in order to keep the tension and keep the initiative without retreat the pieces. And also the idea of this is invite white to do the trade of pieces on the b4 square, because in case of that, white can recapture with the pawn, opening the file for the rook with permanent pressure in the new backward pawn created on the a file. So white dig knight b4, looking for some weak squares. So rook ea, now rook to the semi-open file, and here we have c5. So with this move, black just demonstrate to white that there is no backward pawn on the c5 because the c5 square is covered by the pawn on b6. So knight f5, looking for the d6 square that now is not covered by the bishop because of the advance of the pawn. But now with this backward move, black create a discovered defense on the d6 square. And also the d7 square may be available for the queen in some lines. So white here push the pawn to d4 to fight for the control of the center. But now the next move played by Karpov demonstrates the typical middle game plan and also a logical sequence for the game. Usually, the best move in the position have some connection with the last move of your opponent. The pawn was on d3, covering e4 and goes forward. When the pawn goes forward, leave these two squares available, and Karpov decides to take the outputs immediately using two typical middle game plans in the position, chasing the bishop and also using this strong location for the knight. So Portish decides to capture on c5 in order to try to create a hanging pawn situation. But here Karpov have this intermediate move in the bishop pair, knight takes, and here the capture on c5 is the expected move, but we are going to see the move that Portish probably overlooked in the game, and it was queen g5. This move is a kind of long move because the queen was on the queen side and was transferred to the king side, creating a double attack because it's forking both knights, attacking the knight on d2 and the knight on f5. So with this move, black is winning material. Portish decides to take the outpost on d6, but after bishop takes d2, knight takes b7, bishop takes e1, queen takes e1. So far, black won an exchange, but now we have another petite combination. Rook takes on e2 because the queen on e1 is overloaded. It's protecting c1, it's protecting the pawn, so black is increasing the material advantage. After queen takes check, queen f1, and here, in this position, we are going to see a very instructive move played by the ex-world champion, Anatoly Karpov. He decides to play queen d2. Normally, in this position, probably the more practical approach will be the trade of queens because black clearly have an exchange of advantage, and trade pieces of equal value will be probably the easiest way to convert. But really, in this position, we can see this example about how to look for the best possible way to play the position, especially if we have no time on the clock. So with queen d2, the justification of this move is that black queen is more active. So even despite the simplification is helpful, in order to convert the advantage without allow complications, really this move, objectively speaking, is even better because it's keeping the maximum activity for the queen, while this queen really is in the first rank beside the king. So after queen d2, Portish decides to capture the pawn on b6, hoping to create a pass pawn, but now we can see how the most active queen create intersection point on c1, and white don't have any way to prevent that the rook get the invasion square. So this was an amazing performance by the world champion Anatoly Karpov, who defeat the Hungarian Grandmaster Laszlo Portish in only 23 moves with black pieces, using the queen's Indian defense formation against the Zuckertor opening. So in order to play like Anatoly Karpov, we can identify three main features of this game. First of all, a stable opening repertoire. All the historical games of Karpov, probably his predicted way to play against the queen's pawn opening, queen's gambit, and all those setups or the schematic games is the queen's Indian defense setup, and this is what he did. So we can see the benefit about have a stable repertoire. I all the time suggest that for general culture and in order to increase the general knowledge of different positional patterns, it's good to play different openings. But on the other hand, the fact that you have, like, let's say your main weapon, is something very important and positive as well, okay, like the flexibility. Also, the second feature to identify in this game is clear middle game plans. We saw how Karpov took the outputs on e4, and also taking the outputs on e4, he was chasing the bishop on d2, winning the bishop pair. And the last feature, like in the video about how to play like Capablanca, a nice tactical visualization, specifically petite combinations, queen g5, the fork on the knights. Yeah, really, his tactical visualization was quite good to identify all those small opportunities in order to create a very big advantage in a gradual way. So, well, guys, I hope you enjoy the analysis and comments of this game about how to play like Karpov. Don't forget, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and hope to see you in a new video about this series. Take care. See you soon. Bye.